Welcome everyone to the first in-person meeting in a long time. I'm calling the meeting to order at 6 p.m. and will you please form the call to.
Joe Pishneri.
Here.
Brittany D'Aliconte is excused. Daniel Davidson is our newest member. Barry Lind.
Here.
Cindy Koza. Here. Jonathan Hayes. Carla Berg. Here. Teresa Dillon.
Here.
Adam Jenkins is excused. Brett Yancey.
Here.
Eric Adams.
Here.
Welcome to.
This is Daniel Davidson. He's our newest member and we will introduce him a little bit later.
Thank you. Okay, looking at minutes, approval for the minutes now. And then any changes or additions.
Make a motion to approve.
Next is business from the audience.
It looks like we do not have anybody in the audience at this time.
Okay, so do I still need to read the text then at
No.
this point?
No.
All right. Next on the agenda then is committee responses. We have nobody in the audience. We have no response. And next is business from SPD.
I guess that's me.
All
All right. Well, first, I think Barry, this is your last meeting, correct?
Yes.
Well, I wasn't here the whole time you were here, but thank you very much for all of the service that you did to this committee. I've heard wonderful things about you and everything that you did. Chief Shear is not here this week. He is over at Oregon Association of Chiefs of Police Conference, but he wanted to make sure that you got recognized appropriately. So I'm going to read this letter and then we have a little thank you.
Oh.
So, Mr. Lind, this letter is to recognize and highlight, excuse me, the invaluable contributions you made as a longtime member of the Springfield Police Advisory Committee. In June of 2019, you began your first four-year term after being appointed to this position by the mayor and city council. As the senior pastor at Norwood Christian, you represented our local faith community on the committee. During your service as a committee member and as chair of the committee, you offered counsel to both the chief of police and city elected officials regarding public safety and neighborhood livability issues up through May of 2023. As a local pastor and Springfield community member, you provided a range of perspectives that enhanced the committee's effectiveness and helped strengthen public safety in our community. During your tenure, you experienced firsthand the changing expectations of law enforcement in terms of how they police the communities they serve. Throughout your term, you were at the forefront of guiding the Springfield Police Department and this community through a series of difficult challenges. Events occurring both nationally and locally had impacted community trust in policing that affected us right here at home. As a result, the committee mission changed quickly, requiring demanding and sometimes difficult work by all of its members. Your commitment to public service on this committee and the difficult work you engaged in since 2019 have made a lasting impact on how this police department operates today. You are to be commended for your actions in support of the work of the men and women of the Springfield Police Department and improving the level of trust the people of Springfield have in their police department. Sincerely, Chief Andrew Shear.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So thank you very much. And then, I don't know if everybody knows the coins. Some people may. It's very much popular in like law enforcement, firefighting. They're called challenge coins. Chief Shear has his own, and so he does not give these out very often, but this is a chief.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So,
Thank
A
you.
lot of times when we go places, we'll trade them and stuff. I don't know how many I have. I have a lot, but it's kind of cool. I do not have a chief Shear coin yet, so I will
Thank
keep
you.
working. You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Very thoughtful.
Thanks, Barry.
You're welcome.
All right, I have a couple other kind of updates. So this year, just like 3 weeks ago, maybe, we held our first kind of award ceremony, but in a different fashion. It was public. This was my first experience doing it. I thought it was great. Having it over at Wildish and allowing the community to come. Hopefully we'll have more next year. It'll be kind of a bigger event. I know that at first, I think some members were like unsure of it because we normally haven't done it that way. But I think it's a really good way not only to recognize the officers, but let the community do that as well. But also when we recognize the community members and we're able to give them awards, I think that had a huge impact on everybody in the room. And so we're really encouraging officers to let supervisors know when community members do something great so that we can add it to this year's or this next year's award ceremony. So hopefully that's going to get even bigger and better. And as you will all not be surprised, the only reason it worked as well as it did is because Tiffany did all the work. So she worked a ton. Her and Zach did a ton to make sure that that went off without a hitch, and it really was great. So if you were there, thank you for coming. If not, hopefully you'll be there next year. And thank you again for all that you did for that. Let's see, next on the list, we put it out over our social media, but there's a new program in Lane County called TIP, Trauma Intervention Program. It's a program that's been around the country for about 35 years. Lane County started kind of working to bring it to everybody here, I think about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And so basically what it is SPD, Eugene, the sheriff's office, and then also the fire department is we're all working together to make sure that this program is successful. And so what it is, if any members of any of those agencies respond to a call, like a traumatic incident, whether it's a car accident, a death in the family, a fire that displaces people, anything like that, anything where trauma is happening, the officers have the ability now to call a TIP volunteer. And all they have to do is get on the radio and say, can I have TIP respond? And dispatch has the number, and TIP, the program, went out to Lane County. They had 80 people apply to be a TIP volunteer. They had 40 people show up to the initial training. It's 55 hours long, and 26 people graduated from that training. That's countywide. So so 55 hours of training. They've all been backgrounded. They get annually backgrounded, so we make sure that it's all good that way. But they're just basically trained to be with someone when like either police or fire have to leave, because a lot of times we know that the family or whoever's impacted by the traumatic event is still experiencing that, and they're still trying to process. But we have to go to the next call. That TIP member will be there. They have a resource guide that's specific to Lane County. So if it's, I don't know who to call when my loved one just passed away, or what resources are available or something like that, they can work through that. TIP will then also follow up with that community member the next day to make sure that they're doing okay. So if you haven't heard about it, it went live on Monday, April 3rd. And so hopefully we've been encouraging the officers to use it. We've put out a couple of flyers to them, but if you hear anything about it, I would really appreciate any feedback, especially if we're hearing things that weren't, great. I don't think we will. It has been up in the Portland area where I'm from my whole career. And I didn't have any issues with it ever. TIP members are only called out by police and fire, so they'll never be stopping by a call and, hey, I can help or something like that. They get called by us, and we have 26, I can verify this, 26 very excited volunteers who want to be out there and helping. So I'm super happy about that.
Actually, a couple of them came to Tippecanoe the other day.
Oh,
and
did
giving
they?
the officers their business cards.
Oh, that's why, yeah, they really want to get out there and help, a couple of them. So it was pretty impressive that in the county that 80 people applied, 40 showed up for that initial training, and then 26 made it through the whole 55 hours. So
Was that 26 enough then?
well, right now that 26 is covering every day, 24 hours a day. I forgot to mention that. They are 24/7. You can call, they sign up for shifts. I think they have to, I don't remember how many they have to sign up for, like per week or something. But right now with that number, they have all of their shifts covered with at least 2 people.
Oh,
Yeah.
and how often will you be certified people or get new?
So they're planning on doing 2 trainings a year. So we just have the one in the spring, and then there'll be one in the fall. And if anybody's interested, I can get you that information. We have cards on their upcoming training and stuff. Yeah. So about twice a year, we'll ask for new volunteers, or the program will ask for new volunteers. And we have, in Lane County, we have a coordinator. So.
How did the police know when to refer someone to that versus like cahoots?
So they are not mental health providers.
Okay,
So this is just like if you've experienced a traumatic event, not necessarily any type of crisis that you're in or anything like that. That's when we would use this service versus cahoots.
and the police, are they trained like the categories like death? What about like domestic violence or something like
They
that?
can come out and they can offer it basically on any call, they can offer it. And if a member, because we may not, police, we see a lot of stuff, so sometimes we are not as affected, and so it might not seem very traumatic to us, but even a burglary could be traumatic for someone if somebody's gone through all of your stuff. And if the officers just have the feeling like leaving this person here is not the best option right now by themselves, or even if there's more than one person, they can call them out for anything.
Have we had any calls yet?
I don't know. I'd have to check with our coordinator. I know that Monday morning with the coordinator and another member of TIP, we're over at EPD. They've come to all of the briefings to tell the officers about it. And they were at a briefing at EPD when a call came out and an officer requested it. So their response time was like 2 minutes. They are hoping for a response time of 15 to 20 minutes in the Springfield Eugene area. If you're out farther in the county, it could be longer. But they're hoping to have a pretty quick response.
Is it offered in Spanish?
I don't know if they have Spanish speakers. I would have to check and see.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so. Oh, recruitment page. So we have updated our recruitment page here. And we are working to obviously do as much as we can, both lateral and then new officers. So a lateral officer is a sworn officer anywhere else that leaves an agency that comes here. A new officer would be someone who's not been a police officer before. And so Zach, our public information officer, has done a great job trying to kind of highlight all of the great reasons why Springfield is good. He's updated a lot of the information, obviously the community, the people, the location, all of that stuff. So we've seen an increase in the number of applicants. Right now, we have I think there's about 5 people who are in our process currently. That's fantastic. And please, everybody cross your fingers that all 5 of them make it all the way through. That would be fantastic. We're about 12 short right now, which is a huge impact when our authorized sworn staff is 55. So that makes a big difference, but it's not just sworn officers that we need people for. So if that's maybe not your comfort zone, but maybe dispatch or records or detention is something more that you would be interested in, we have openings in all of those areas as well. And they are also on this website. So if you know anybody who's interested in any of that, we have vacancies. So we will keep doing that. We are, I put out an email probably about 2 months ago now, asking for members who would be interested in helping with the recruitment. And I had a huge response to that. So we're working on developing officers who can go out to like career fairs and, help with background process, officers who are willing to do ride-alongs for people who are interested. Even dispatchers and records have said if people are interested, they're more than welcome to come sit with them for a shift just to see how the job works. So we're doing everything we can to try to make it attractive to come. Oh, that's another thing here is this click here to contact our recruitment team. We have specific officers who, if you have questions, they'll respond to emails and stuff now too. So let's see, I think the last one. So we have the complaint and accommodations report came out recently. The chief talked about it. And we have a process, an internal process for looking into those. And we have really tried to make sure that that is streamlined as much as possible, not only for the community members who may file a complaint, but also for the officers. So that we're making sure that community members are notified when their complaint is received, notified of any status updates, and then also provided information on the outcome of their complaint as well. And we try to get all of these done in 30 days. And if for some reason that wouldn't happen, then now that community member would be notified that there was an extension. So we're trying to be much more timely and transparent as far as our complaint investigations and just making sure, because it's stressful on officers if you have a complaint filed against you, and it's frustrating for community members if they don't hear anything. So we're really trying to streamline that and make sure that we're providing as much information as possible. If, I hope you don't want to, but if you do want to file a complaint, there is an online form that you can do that on our webpage. If anybody asks you about this form, this is specifically for filing a complaint against you can also send in commendations, complaints and commendations on this site. what we're experiencing is that some community members think that this is a way to file a complaint about their neighbor or something. And so we're getting a lot of these. So we are working to fix this form so that you have to basically verify like 2 or 3 times that this is what you're wanting to do. So if people have other complaints, they can just call, but this is specifically for accommodations or complaints regarding members of SPD.
A silly question, but if they want to remain anonymous, which I see as an option,
Yep.
you don't really have a way to respond back.
We don't. We still investigate those, but we don't have a way to respond if we choose. And we do get some of those. But yeah, we do investigate all of those. You can also still call and you can come in and fill out a complaint form as well.
So if someone approaches an officer and they say, hey, how do we make a complaint? Do the officers direct them to this site?
They tell them that you can file it online, in person, or call.
Is that like a policy or training that they get or something? Because I think they usually refer to the non-emergency line.
I don't know if they've been trained specifically or when they were last trained in it, but the officers all do know how to file complaints.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. You guys have any questions for Deputy Chief? Yeah.
And this is vintage from the committee. And, anybody have anything for us?
We were going to introduce Daniel.
Yes.
So Daniel Davidson is our taking Barry's position as the faith community representative. And he was appointed by SPAC this last Monday. So would you like to introduce yourself, Daniel?
It's an honor to be on part of this committee. I was raised in a police officer's home, and so very passionate about the police force. Love Springfield, been here 19 years, father of 6. And so I'm at ground level trying to raise a family in the community. And so I look forward to working with you in the next couple of years.
Thank you for being here.
We'll have you.
Welcome.
There's committees available too.
Because as a father of 6, I'm sure he has tons of extra time. Yeah.
I have one question. I've been asked a couple of times just recently about the Citizens Academy. And I know that at one point, a few months ago, we were talking about it again, but now I've heard nothing. Is there anything going on with that?
Well, we still haven't filled the vacant community outreach position. And normally that position puts on the academy.
Okay.
And the years where it was vacant before COVID, Wendy and I were doing it. And as you guys probably know, Wendy has been out. She is coming back part-time, but I just don't have the bandwidth. Normally, we would have put the applications out in February. It would have started right after spring break, which is this week, and it would went till June.
Right.
So I think we're just hoping that we get a community outreach person on board and that maybe next year.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Interviews for that position.
Yes, you are.
So
Mhm.
You're gonna talk about the annual report that you and Carla and Brittany.
That's correct. Right. Everybody have a copy of their annual report? This is probably going to be sending to city council. But we need to talk about recommendations or next steps. So do we have any suggestions or questions or comments on that? We go over this, or does everybody have a chance to look through it and over
Can I ask you to just speak a little louder? I'm not quite hearing everything you're saying.
it? They asked me about that and I thought I was, so my apologies.
No, you're great on Zoom. You're unbelievable. I'm just trying to lean in and make sure I'm hearing.
I know, I had to split the room like this so that if we had speakers, they,
Yeah.
so, I mean, maybe I can scoot us a little closer.
I was gonna say next time we'll put
A little
your
bit
tables
closer.
a little closer, so, yeah, thank you. Anyway, we're just talking about this and I was wondering if we had any comments or suggestions on the annual report that we'll be submitting. We want to talk about next steps and recommendations.
Yeah, I believe we sent out an email requesting if any committee members had anything for recommendation or what we should put there, and we got no response.
Yes, exactly.
So it would be helpful if we had something to put there or some suggestions.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, Carla, I think you guys were talking about this paragraph that says, finally, the SPAC would like to highlight the accomplishment of Chief Scherer and his staff for, and we put IA Pro and accommodations, complaints, and use of force. Was there anything else we wanted to add in there? Community outreach.
Just saying from the council perspective, that the report that was brought back to the council based off of IA Pro was a real good report. Fellow councilors and Sean all said that they were very happy with that report. Had a lot of good detail in it. There's a few areas that I'd like to have a little more detail or cipher it out just a little bit, but very small tweaks. And it was really a good report. Very well received.
So then it's just how we end the thing.
Right, the recommendations and or next steps.
And of course, we can always just cut that part out and end it right there. Okay.
Really, it was on there. We left it on there because it was on there last year.
Yeah. So we could just cut that out.
Let's take that out.
Okay. Well, I'm good with that.
And just to follow up to your question that you asked, I just texted the coordinator. And she said they did have one volunteer who went through the training, but she is not available yet. She's having a baby very soon. And so as soon as she's
Speak Spanish.
yes, but they're also working with Central Latino
Yeah.
to try to find some additional volunteers.
One other thing that we wanted to talk about was our policies.
Yes, so let me share the screen here.
You're not recording now.
I am, but I'm just bringing up our current policy.
Okay.
This is the current policy. And did everybody have a chance to read that? Okay. And as Deputy Chief pointed out, we are in the middle of a draft. So I'm not publishing that online yet, and I'm not bringing it up on the screen, but I did give you guys the draft to read and review. And so if you have any questions for Deputy Chief.
So in this policy, it's actually really nice. I mean, I was on a committee with the Department of Justice and the Senate committee in regards to some state law that implemented some required curriculum at the academy in regard to immigration status. But what this policy is missing, unless it's caught somewhere else, is the 1963 Vienna Convention on Consular Notification of Detention of Foreign Nationals.
I'll have to check and see if it's in a different one.
Yeah, I can't
This is
see it here, but-
this is just on like, immigration piece of it, not.
Well, it shows me, yeah, it shows here where it says, immigrant detainers, but information sharing and administrative warrants. And it has everything to do with detention of foreign nationals.
Right.
So we really protect the department. We definitely need to cover the Vienna Convention of Consular Notification. It's provided by the U.S. State Department. And basically what it boils down to is anytime you detain an individual known to be a foreign national, there's 170 countries the U.S. is a partner in. And some of those have got a voluntary, you have to tell a foreign national, would you like me to contact your consulate?
Yeah.
And then some of them is that you don't even ask them, you tell them that they will be notified, because there's some countries that require notification and some that are voluntarily notified. So that has to happen at 3 points on a detention. It has to happen at the arrest, it has to happen at the arraignment, it has to happen at the first court appearance. So it's a three-legged stool. I would hate to have Springfield, because we have, well, we agencies got a lot of eyes on it, but it would be great to show, there's a lot of agencies that aren't real good at this. And it would be great for us to be on top of it.
Okay. I will double check, make sure it's not anywhere else. And if it's not, make sure it gets
Yeah,
added.
we're
I'm
putting,
looking through the policies that are online just real quick to see.
you may look at how, when we were putting together the jail, we put,
Oh, right
There
there.
might be in the
Consular and
Yeah.
diplomatic relations.
there it is, right there.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a different policy. And I don't know that it's been on our review schedule yet.
So 41.4.
Trying to get folded into this.
It probably can.
And
And that's good because we're doing accreditation right now. We're moving stuff
So-
around.
part of that too is that you need to make sure that is implemented in the jail policies upon a person being booked. So if the receiving staff has got information from a person being booked, and there needs to be on our booking sheet a question, yes, no, are you a foreign national? It has nothing to do with
Right.
with detention, but you're asking if they're foreign nationals, so that's a trigger for our detention staff to say, okay, we need to confirm that they've been asked or advised that their consulate can be notified, or we need to find out what country they're from to determine if they are a mandatory report.
Right. And I will have to check and see if that's on our detention form. I can check with the Lieutenant Nyworth.
Yeah, that's at the jail, and then of course, we can follow through with Judge James
Yeah.
to make sure that the court is aware that that notification must also be made at the first arraignment if it has not already done so. So it's so important that they have three test parts, three areas in which they need to make sure it happens, so that way they know it will never not happen.
All right, so in this, we'll look at if we can incorporate 41.410 into this one. I'll check with detention and then also with courts.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect timing of it. I mean, as far as make sure we're doing it
Yeah.
right.
It is, for sure. So did we have any questions about 2.5.1? Either current policy or the draft policy?
It's really well written. Whoever wrote, helped put it together, it's done really well.
Yeah, this was Lieutenant Crawley working with Lexipol.
Yours did great. Yeah, it's good, really well written.
Find a subcommittee for our policy review schedule.
So our current policy review schedule ends, we have two policies to review in June, and then we have none scheduled after that. So we need a subcommittee to get together to decide which policies we're going to review.
Last time it was Barry, myself, and Jess. And so this year,
I suggest that we involve Lieutenant Crawley because of the accreditation process. There may be some that he wants to do sooner rather than later.
absolutely.
Sure. So that was my suggestion is you and I, we just kind of picked them randomly, the ones, but it might be helpful to have input.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because we're going through
Yeah.
all of them right
Right.
now, so it would be good for you guys to work with Lieutenant Crawley.
Right.
Yeah,
And maybe part of it is because a lot of these are being reviewed, we have a person who's helping us review it. So maybe as we're working through those, they just come out to this group.
Right, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and do it. And if somebody else would like to volunteer, that'd be wonderful.
I'll help you.
Okay, great, thank you.
On the one that's on the camping one in June
Uh-huh.
is right in the middle of a legal mess.
Yeah.
That we're crafting the code, but the timetable is on government time right now. And so I think that June may be a little aggressive.
So do you think that maybe,
Potentially, I'm just saying potentially, it depends on how fast council moves on it, because there's a lot of moving parts because of the new state laws and the new case law.
Is that the one that's up for June?
and yeah,
Oh,
do you
that's
think
right.
that we should go over the current policy and maybe you could give us some insight to what the council is looking at? Because obviously ours is going to change after whatever council decides.
It's gonna be almost upended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I.
We should get rid of it.
I would coordinate that with Mary B.
Okay.
And city attorney's office, and I think, and actually Mary Bridget's actually directly working with that. I don't think Christina is. So check with her to see what the
Well,
time,
maybe we move it to August.
that
With-
would be safe,
Okay.
because it should all be ratified and codified by then.
Okay.
But I
Don't we have, doesn't it go into effect July 1?
well, some, yeah, but we have time to respond on how to craft ours in regards to how to answer some of the requirements of that state law, even though most of us already is, but we have to actually identify specific properties that are affected by it, and, you know, lane properties, some property, all those things, those actually have to be individually rectified. So that's where it's gonna probably.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
August would be.
And I imagine, I haven't looked at it recently, but I imagine the traffic enforcement policy might be kind of large anyway.
Probably.
I think it's a few pages. I don't know.
So I was just gonna, so, I mean, maybe a question for Deputy Chief as well, that if the department's policy is sort of out of lockstep with ordinance reads for an extended period of time, what kind of procedural complications does that present?
If our policy is out of lockstep with well, we would have to quickly modify. We have to follow that. So it would be something where we would make the immediate needed changes to that. And that can come as like an executive order from the chief. And then we would, hammer out the policy details like you were saying. So yeah, the stuff that we have to follow, we will get out there for sure.
City attorney, I think, probably immediately send a memo to the
Yep.
PD, say this is now in effect. And so they have to put the brakes on and get rid of it, respond to.
Yeah, so we would have to do like I would said, the chief would do that, and then we would do immediate training, like in all of the briefings to the role, to all the officers. Yeah.
Anything else from any of the committee
For member share?
memberships?
I'll say, I went to the award ceremony, and it was fantastic. Yeah, I'm really impressed. How well it went. Really inspiring to see all the staff get launched in that way, and I could tell there was a lot of camaraderie and high morale. And,
Yeah.
it was neat to just see that in person, so great job.
Thank you.
And I have to commend Tiffany. She did do a great job.
She did.
Yes.
Yeah. That was awesome. Fun.
And I want to throw in that young man who got the award with his mom.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted to watch him, like he just stood a little bit taller.
Yes,
It was
yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So that's what we're hoping for, some more examples of the community doing great stuff too, because I'm sure they did a lot more than the two that we recognized. So.
Yes, and we have changed our awards policy to add citizen awards in there as well. So.
That's really nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a great event.
yeah, I mean, all the officers are like, oh, I don't need that, but they like it.
Yeah,
So everybody does, right? Nobody wants it, but yeah, it's nice to hear. So,
it is.
And plus, was all the city leadership was there.
yeah, that was awesome.
Most everybody.
Yeah.
I don't think there was like one exception, but
Yeah.
the whole council's there, the mayor's there, the
Yeah.
city manager.
It was nice to see Wendy there.
Yes.
That
It was
awesome.
hit or miss whether we kept going, come on, just take a nap. Come in.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
So it was
It
great
was.
that she showed
that
up.
was great.
And it was great. The city support is great. And I try to remind the officers here that is not everywhere and don't take it for granted and appreciate it. So I do appreciate you guys all being there.
Maybe videos next time.
Huh?
Maybe videos next time.
Yeah, it was kind of a last minute decision. And I think Zach was on vacation.
Yeah.
And we discussed a little bit of it. I was almost thinking even some of the cases, if we could use some body cam
Right.
footage.
Yeah,
You know.
might be able to if
Yeah.
the cases were done and everything and there wasn't any, yeah.
Like, I don't know, like the one on the bridge that we could blur the guy's face out.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. And you might just be able to see the interaction.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, if you guys have suggestions, please.
Yeah.
Going back to the hiring that you're focusing on, I have a friend who's going through the application process. He's already had his chief's interview.
Good.
And he has been going through other law agencies simultaneously, just trying to get on somewhere. He has commented the professionalism that stands out in Springfield compared to other law
Oh, that's
enforcement
great.
agencies. So I want to give you that feedback.
Thank you very
It's very
much.
positive for
Yeah.
him. So it's obvious you all are working and focusing on that.
Yes, that is a huge priority for the chief. Well, and me too, but I mean, it's
Yes.
like, we are trying to be the agency that's getting these, not cutting any corners to make sure we're not doing good backgrounds, but making sure that, we're in constant contact, because we hear that from people for a long time. It's taking so long, I don't hear anything. And we are fully aware that if you are a qualified police officer, Springfield's not the only one looking at you right now.
Right.
So, yeah, I appreciate that. So thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, well, we'll call the meeting at 6:35.
Sure.